All right, greetings, all you devils. Happy Friday. Here we are, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Good to meet you face to face, if you will. All right, so they tell me this format here is what I've got to do, right? So mystery is revealed. No, I'm really don't mind doing this at all. Now, I will say this. As some of you and members will recall this, a couple of years ago, I had major reconstructive back surgery. And as a result of that, I can no longer sit at my desk, something about the 90-degree angle working at a computer. I have to stand. So I have these rising desks, standing desks, if you will. But I work off of a 45-inch monitor. So there's limited places to where I can put the camera. I can only put it so many up here. You'd be looking to. So I have to put it off to the side. So you'll have to bear with me if I'm occasionally looking at the screen and forget to pay attention to you over here. So some of this you're going to get the side of my head, but then I have the limited places where I can put the microphone. So all that said, here we'll get it sorted out. Now, before just a little housekeeping here before we get into the TNA. I guess we're still kind of technically in a soft launch here, but we've redone the website, changed the price points, changed the access points, made it easier for people to access the belt system, which is, of course, the core of our entire educational university here. So if you clicked over here, most people are going to go right to prices, right? So, of course, you can always still join us for free. White belt is still free. You still get access to some of the Discord, more of it than we had done previously. But if you're clicking over here on prices, you'll see that now the individual belts, you can buy them, again, individually. You can buy them the entire package and save yourself a little money. And we're not requiring that you pass one before you purchase the other. So if you wanted to, for example, if you wanted to buy blue and before you were finished and had passed that, you wanted to dig into purple, you have that option to do it. You can buy all of them if you want to. It's just up to you. And we tried to be thoughtful about the pricing here. So it used to be $199 a month, and the feedback we got is people felt like there was too much pressure. Not everybody has the time that's required to pass these in a month, 2 months, and we found that the average was about 3 months. So thus, if you're paying $200 a month to stay in the educational system, you can be, if you're 3, 4, 5 months in it, you're paying much more than you would if you just bought the belt outright. So what we thought, we'd take it down to what would have been the approximation of 2 months at $399 for each of these. And that way, we're trying to alleviate that pressure of, oh shit, I'm $199 again, and I'm not done with blue, and already I'm worried about purple. So that was the thinking here in terms of repricing this. So that's one option. And then, of course, the other is, for those of you that will recall the way we used to do it for social memberships, that was a split between social and educational. You didn't have full access to everything if you were social as opposed to educational, different price points. So it made sense at that time. But with the new price point here, we think this is a better approach to it. So if you want access to all of the content in the Discord, with very few exceptions, so you wouldn't necessarily have access to purple belt or brown belt unless you had purchased those. But within the Discord, the one membership here, the pro membership we're calling it, $79 a month, gets you access to pretty much everything in there. So that's a change here. We've kind of tried to rethink it and make it more fair to everybody who's involved and get you as much access for the most reasonable price as we could. So with that, if you're interested, come on over, take a look around. Of course, you can still join us for free, white belt, all of that. Nothing changes there, but just access to the upper belts. That's the change. And then the monthly on the pro membership. Okay. So all of that said, let's see. Let's get over here to Bitcoin. I think this is probably a reasonable place to start. Zoom in a little bit. So where we left it last week, somewhat undecided as to whether or not this was going to be a pivot here that would set us up for, if I scrunch in here, for perhaps a flat with an expanded B here. So the 335 thinking here that we had bumped into and kind of hit this level of resistance up here, that we'd hit that, and that double top and then the move that came off of it suggested that perhaps if we were going to move out of this in a 5, that we had something uglier underway. And fortunately, and interesting timing, that we have this pretty substantial rip here that gives more. We're not completely confirmed yet, but certainly gives more validation to the thinking here, as I have it labeled, that that we do have a good low. We've got a ripping 5 off of that low, off of the double bottom down here. And then with what would appear to be, a WXY here, if you're really digging through all the ways, but you can just simplify it and call it a 3. But it does look like you've got to finish it with an ABC, that we've gone into a 1-2, and now we're in the 1 of 3. Now, that is a very bullish count. If you just start doing a little bit of projecting, just using very typical wave projections, this starts to get pretty encouraging. Now, how do we confirm it? Well, with Bitcoin here, it looks like this 5 off of the low here, I think we can safely call this as safe as you can ever be with the markets. We could likely call this a 1 here. Let's go up to subminuet. And so we've got a completed impulse here. We've got a 3-wave correction. Then we've got another impulse. So I don't see any reason to be thinking outside of what's the most obvious. What's the simplest that we can identify here? 5 followed by 3 followed by 5. Right, but then it's the length of time. This is happening so fast, right? As we all see this, right? This is happening so fast here. I think we are separated from the initial impulse here. So as this now moves, I think we can comfortably call this a completed impulse, this a completed correction, and then this impulse here the start of the 3rd wave. Now, anticipating the potential range of that, let's just use traditional Elliott projection here. Well, if this is 1, 2, we'd be looking for potentially a 3 up here. So we'd be thinking 3, 4. Oh, here, let's move it off a little bit to the side. 3, 4, 5 in that capacity. So from this swing low up through the pivot of the 1, projecting from the 2, most probable location, it doesn't mean it has to be there, but that's just the most probable location, would put us up here about 35 and change. So then if we do the exact same thing, we start to overlap some of this, and we say, okay, now we don't know that this is completed yet, but if we are going to come down here and make a deeper correction here, let's go for the halfway point. Then you're looking at a 3, a 4, and a 5, and you can kind of start to map it out. Right, so 1, all right, this will be critical, right? The correction that's likely to come here. 3, who knows what we get here, what kind of a 4 we get, into the 5 would put us right where we'd anticipate it. Now, that's just working off of the norms of Elliott Wave projection. Right? I mean, we want to project something rather than just, let's just see. Now, obviously here, as I've got the Sonar Labs indicator on here, we've got some resistance to work through. I mean, there's a pretty big supply zone here, pretty big one right here. Now, note I'm on the daily. I happen to be on BitGet, our sponsor. But these are not to be ignored. So that's a pretty good looking, we'll call it an order block here. I tend to call them supply zones here because we got to clear this. And ideally, as I've drawn it out here, we clear it, come back and test from above, and then that gives us the legs to go to the next one. Right, and then the same kind of thing. We might stall here. This would be one hell of a move. Oh, let's see if we can even get a channel on that. If we look at this, right, just kind of trying to lay it out. We get something like this into the 4, now into the 5 here. Now we're back up into the mid 40s. If this is gonna play Elliott ball, if we're gonna get this kind of a move off of this, and again, right now there doesn't seem to be any reason to think otherwise. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's absolute certainty. But right now, my suggestion would be to simplify. When in doubt, right? Always, you want to simplify. And again, 5 followed by 3 followed by 5. What's the simplest solution there? You can complicate it, and I've seen some members on my team that I will always task with, okay, give me something that people haven't thought of, right? And often I'll get scenarios that are quite creative, and given the skill level of my team, they're going to be legitimate. But right now, while there's potential for this to roll over here and challenge these lows, right now I don't think we need to go there yet. So if you didn't catch any of this, which I mean, it happened fast, right? And it's interesting that it's, you're kind of reminded with all of this the banking issues that we have going, where Bitcoin came from in the first place. What was the impetus behind it? And we're getting a very harsh reminder of what that looks like and what Bitcoin is all about. So interesting timing. Now, additionally, of course, we're getting the break in the correlation from risk assets. So, the market is down today here, and we're dealing with the fallout and the repercussions of that. So what does it mean for the Fed? What is the Fed likely to pause? Well, if they're likely to pause, that's bearish historically for the equity markets. But Bitcoin seems to be now charting its own path as a result of people looking for where can they find alpha in this environment, and Bitcoin seems to be where they've landed, and it would make perfect sense. So all of the ingredients here are here for us to have a good low. For us to have a good low, and for this to be the start of the next bull run. I mean, all of the ingredients are there, right? You couldn't script it any better than we're getting it. Kind of interesting. So for those of you that are raging bulls, as I am, right? Well, this is exciting to see. Now, all of that said, if you're not participating here, it's not to fret, because if we're gonna play Elliott ball, the anticipation would be when we start to roll over here that there's a correction coming. And that then we might, a couple of ways we could do it. Here, let's just keep it simple. Let's just go through the whole thing. So anywhere in here, this is going to be interesting, right? So this would be just the standard here. Well, let's see. Let's draw it this way. This is relative to the Sonar Labs here, because we don't have a new break of structure here. So this is inverted, but coming back here between the 50 and the golden zone here, right here, would be ideal, right? So there's in this low to mid 20s, 23 to 22. If we're coming back into that range, and then we kind of look here and say, okay, right, you can kind of see we got a little bit of a low volume node here. We'd come back into that. Boy, it sets up beautifully. It really does. Now, underneath, just to give this a little bit more confirmation here, the Elliott oscillator seems to have framed out this initial push. Well, I think there was some question, was this an expanded B into a C here? Some question about this, but we just look at the Elliott oscillator. Again, let's keep it as simple as we can. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't script that anymore perfectly. That is right out of Elliott 101. So here's our 1, here's our 2, big impulse 3, down for the 4. We don't get too deep. We hold the 0 line, and then we get this massive divergence for the 5th. Roll over for the 2. All of that would suggest that we're on the right track here. Now, the one additional, it's getting a little messy in there. The one additional point here worth noting that a couple of guys on my team were quick to point out, let's get that off of here, is that if we pull from the secondary pivot here, this 2, right, and this was some of the question marks that were being created as to whether or not we had, was this a 1, 2, 1, 2? But if we pull from the secondary pivot, we go right to the golden zone. Now, given that, we have yet to tag that algo target. But here, we don't have to wonder if that's an algo. We don't. We know it's an algo, right? And then interestingly, it's, again, as you'll hear me say often, it's not the 618. Right? It breaks the 618. Golden zone. So we go right into that pocket between the 618 and the 65, and then it's just a vertical launch from that. Now, note, I'm on the daily. I mean, that from 19.7 to 27, that's an 8K vertical ramp. Beautiful, right? For Bitcoin bulls, we've been waiting for a long, long, long time for this. Now, can we say it's go time? Well, there's never absolute certainty here, but this is about as good as we've seen it in, 13, 14 months. This is definitely time to be a bit more aggressive. So if you didn't catch any of this, which would be understandable if you didn't, because again, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6 days here. Just in the last week, we've just gone vertical here, but you can anticipate. Don't FOMO. Don't feel like, oh shit, I missed the whole. The odds are very high that this has to get corrected and retested from above. So with the 1, 2, right? So here, this is, Now, this is the genius of Elliott, right? So 5 followed by 3, followed by 5, right? So we can anticipate it's followed by 3 at some degree here. And then yet again, it starts again. So where's the time to be aggressive? I would propose to you the time to be aggressive is when we start to get a retrace. Now, that's idealized. We don't know how deep we go here. And we don't know that we have a pivot yet. So to be mapping it out yet, well, first let's get a lower high so we can, or ideally, right? You might get an expanded B, but let's get something here, at least a break of structure or a change of characters to suggest that we're starting to correct the prior impulse. We're not there yet. Right? Nothing says this couldn't go another 5,000 higher, right? There's no limit to how high this can go. Just because we have an algo target here doesn't mean we stop there or that we're projecting that we stop there. In actual fact here, let's see, if I were to just use traditional Elliott here and just take the length of what is a pretty skinny 1 from the 4, well, the 2618 would put it at 27.8, but it's a mighty small 1 that we have there. We'll see. It's just green here, so it's all just game on here. But you would be looking to anticipate it, right? That's my point here. So don't FOMO. This would be maybe the worst possible place you could enter would be right here, right? Again, I've made a point of this for years. This is not the place to enter. That's who the inexperienced trader thinks, oh, it's safe now. I can enter here. Worst possible place to enter because you're just so vulnerable. It just takes a little bit of downside pressure here and you're going to panic sell. And where's your stop? Here? Or are you just going to use a random level? Right? You're just going to use your wallet and not use the market, right? You've heard me say that many times before. If you're buying it here, your stop needs to be down here. If you're going to trade the market, you can trade your wallet. That's a different story. So don't feel like oh my God, it's moving. I got to get in. We broke 26. We broke 25. I got to get in. Let me rephrase that. That would be, I think, perhaps overly aggressive. Now I say that, and of course, we could launch a vertical here for another 5K. But in terms of trading strategically and managing risk and trying to trade the market, this would be, I think, an overly aggressive location to be getting long. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I've only been doing this for 30 years. I just think you got to be careful about. Certainly here that we've wicked this pivot, but we don't have a close above it. You'd like to see this really extend up here. Maybe we get second target up here and get a bigger looking 5. Then, well, a couple of things happen there. If we get in terms of the depth of what we're looking for. So if we come here and we get something bigger here, then as we come back down, all this moves up. So all of this starts to look more interesting up here. And we start to take advantage of some of that structural potential, right? It's always just potential. Oh, come here. All right, some of this that's in here, some of that structure here is we would definitely have some defense happening here. So if we can get this to continue to kick, if that continues to kick up to that supply zone here, then this is going to look really, really attractive. But we're not there yet. Let's let it play. If you're not in, don't force, right? That's the message here that I would propose to you. Oh, additionally, right, we've got to pay attention to where the algo is. So I think from here, we can look here. All right, so we've got, I don't know if I'm right on it. Let's get right on it. I think I'm right there. We've got to close above. All right, so that's encouraging. This is my point. We've got we don't have a close above here yet. Well, we've got a wick above. We aren't closed here yet, but you'd want to see this close above that 65. This is encouraging, but ideally we get a close above this as we finish the 24-hour window here, and we get a close above the 65. Then we know this is fully broken. We can take that off, and then now we're back to, okay, how high are we going, and where's the 2? Let's go down just for fun. Let's go down to a 4. Looks like that's a decent looking 4. Let's see how we look here. 1, 2. It doesn't look like it's done, right? Just even if you just try and give it some What do we got to work with here? We don't have a lot. Something along these lines. 3, 4, 5. More to come here. Looks like there's more. And that now we can really, with conviction, say, okay, we've killed the sell side algo from that last pivot. If I go back to an 8. Broken, but right, what we have to do exactly what the algo is going to do. It's going to go to the next one. Oh, shit. Here, let's go to a 12 here. All right, so if we break this one, all right, we're not done yet. Next up. Oh, I'd probably use this one as well. Right, next up, and then after we break that one, then right, the big one here is this last major pivot swing high before the last the real collapse. We break here, that's 36 and change. Now it's game on, right? It's a full-blown bull move is underway. We're not there yet, but these are all very encouraging signs, right? You'd like to see. So maybe we come up here to 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally, right? You break your 4, 5, and kill the algo here, right? And then it's just game on. Not there yet, but there's very, very encouraging signs to see if we can get some of this to play out. All right, so there we go on Bitcoin. Well, let's go over to ETH here. Very similar, although we don't have a new high yet over here. So just got. I don't think there's a reason. I mean, there's complexity here, but again, in simplifying, A, B, C, right? Again, can we complicate that? Yeah, of course we can complicate that. But at its core swing structure, that's a 3. Here's a nice looking 5. Same kind of correction here, same thing, and of course, if I get it out of there. I can't get it. Right here, we get the same golden zone tag here. And we're not to that yet. So you might look for that, right? That would line up with the channel. I've got all of this kind of off askew now. All of this back. Nice looking channel, right? Elliott channeling fully in effect here. But here we get the golden zone tag off of the secondary pivot. You know, again, until we get that final pivot here, I mean, it's not bad here. It's not like, oh, shit. But it's interesting that it's right on the golden zone here. So coming through that, now you'd like to see this come up here and finish. Yeah, come here. You'd like to see that come up and get that 5. Complete it. What's the thought, right? Same thing, 5, 3, 5. Well, what would we anticipate after that, right? Nice 3 to come down here. Maybe you come to the low end of the channel, and then there's the big daddy, right? The big 3 that comes off of that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This would be the 1 of the larger degree 3 at this level. So these are all suggesting, you know, certainly the target would be the prior high if we're going to get all of this to play ball. Same issue. Now note here from 1, 2, the 2618 would be right up here at this demand zone, but we got a lot of work to do to get through it all. So here's the golden zone coming back up here at 3,400. Oh, let's take that off here. Let's push them off. Or change that color. I'll get you in blue. Okay, so we'd have 3, 4, 5 over here, 4 over here. This still to come, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you'd get 3 here. I would keep that set of median lines on, right? Even though it looks like, oh, come on, man, can't really, we're going to get there. I've seen it too many times, right? So this, we might get that. If this is going to go 1, 2, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can kind of map that out. 3, 4, 5 would catch you right there. 4, 5 to get to the median line for the 3. Up here at the 2618 from this 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to that 3, 4. Well, it looks pretty good. Really starts to map out, right? So this set of median lines here, you don't have to keep it on your chart. Just hide it. You know, keep it over here on your oh shit, what do they call this here? Not the DOM. What do they call it? Your object tree, that's what they call it, the object tree. Keep it over here in your object tree so you can bring it back. If you're like, oh wait, I remember there was a set of median lines there that was significant. I would not lose track of that. All right, so there's Ethereum. All of this very, very encouraging. You'd like to see that 5 complete though, right? Just to lock it in. All right, so that looks, let's get you back over here. That looks all quite good. I don't think anything to do. I wouldn't want to chase it up here. You're too late for the trade. If you're not here, you're looking for that to complete and then start the retrace. So the next opportunity is going to be after the retrace. Would be my opinion. All right, how are we doing? 25. Okay, so let's go to the S&P. This is the trio I've been working on lately. We got two counts here because this can be counted two different ways. Well, of course, one thought is we can just look at the swing structure here and see a 5 there. I'll get you off my mouse. All right, so we can see that 5, right? So it would be done through a series of 3s through, oh shit, what do we have there? I think we'd have a 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. Oh shit, I should relabel that. That's one possibility. We've got a diag 2, 3, 4, 5. It's too big. So we'd have 5 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5. So 5, 3, 5, 3, 5 gives us that shape as a leading diag into an A wave. 3 into the B. It's a little choppy up here with the questionable. There could be another kick for that B to go to round its way up. But if this, so here will be the tell, which is why I have the arrow here. If the B is in here and we've got 5 down here, so another diag to start us out. Larger diag, we're starting with a 5. If we're coming back in a 3, and the key points here will be just standard. All right, where are we looking for the 2 or the B? So this will be the real tell, right, as to whether or not we have a start on this resolving down here, heading towards that C. We're working on it. Let's go to an 8-hour here. That 5 is pretty clear. Just barely overlapped it here. Looks like a 3 is underway, so you can label this. So we can get an A, a B, and a C coming in here. We come up to that golden zone there, and that's going to be, I think, quite telling. Right? We know an algo is going to fire there. It doesn't mean it can't get through, but we know it's going to be there. Right? We don't have to wonder about that. It is interesting here that we came right here, 50. Look, we got the target. So now we just go down 1, right? We know they're using that. So now if we come back to it, boy, you can kind of see it kind of tees it up pretty nicely here. If we come back to that, this would be an area of interest, right? Perhaps for an option trade, something to give you a little bit more staying power here. So you're just not trying to cut it that sharply there. But come back to that golden zone here where you'd have this structure to play with here. That would be an area of interest. We'll put it that way. Now, there is an alternate count here that we could look at here that it's kind of the implication is the same, lower prices. We could do it through a WXABC into a Y. So we'd have WXABC to give us the Y. Same targets down here in the 32s, or targets down here, 32, right? So we're ending up with very, very similar targets here based on the fact that you can count this two different ways. But at the end of the day, whether this is WX and we've gone A, B, and then we've started with a 5 here, that would suggest that's the one of the 5 that would be required to complete the C of the Y. So WXAB, now we're trying to complete the C to give us the Y down here. We have a nice demand zone down here at this 3,200. Oh, I think we're from this pivot through this pivot here, right up to the golden zone. Thus the target down here and a demand zone there right above it. So all of that plays out pretty nicely, and then we can probably put a nice little channel on this, working its way down. If we break, right, remember the Al Brooks, right, who pioneered this, right? We break the trend line, right? The retail, or let me rephrase that. The inexperienced trader thinks, oh, broke the trend line. We broke the channel, time to be a buyer, right? Where the implication is the first break of the channel suggests that we're going to push down to new lows to get a new extreme here. If we get a 3, 4, 5, then we'd have this done via either this one or the other. We looked at it previously with the WXY, so WXABC to finish it. I think that covers it. All right, I think we got everything covered there. Okay, all right, so what else do I want to talk about? Okay, so next week we're live streaming over on the Ninja side on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was thinking about Wednesdays we'd start up live streams Let's go for Wednesday, see how it goes, if it's popular with the members. We've had, it's been hot, cold in the past, but we got a lot of new people that have joined us, and we'll see if we can get some member participation. We'll put it out. We'll probably do it the same time at 11:30 on Wednesday, and see if we get some non-members participating as well, and how that rolls. So with that, all right. We'll call that a wrap for the day, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday, perhaps for a live stream. Okay, members, we'll update you in the Discord as to the timing of that. Okay, guys, have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.